Friends of Superbike Italy, let's start with the most important thing, my driver's license. I still have it in my hand. And yes, because it is not obvious when a motorcycle test like the MT-09 is finished, which we came to try out in Lanzarote, an experience that proved to be both thrilling and unforgettable for us. Yamaha MT-09 2024. The boys from Iwata have given their Super Media Hooligan a refresh. Why did they do it? As usual, they were very good at taking in the small criticisms that had been directed at the previous model. They have taken them to heart and have tried to give us an even better motorcycle. Let's begin by concentrating on the news. Well, as you can observe, the front of the motorcycle has undergone changes and certain details that were not well received in the previous model have been redefined. So that lighthouse, which was a bit like a Cyclops and in short was not liked by everyone, has disappeared and has been replaced by this front with the little naughty eyes in Yamaha R1 style. And then some details were concealed that perhaps were not appreciated, such as the voltage regulator that had been previously visible and, well, it appeared somewhat peculiar and noisy. In summary, certain specific details pertaining to ergonomics have also been clearly defined and outlined. Observing the stationary bike, perhaps you fail to perceive it, but another alteration on this MT-09 is unquestionably the riding position. In previous times, a few individuals had expressed criticism towards this MT due to it being somewhat too relaxed as a driving position. Actually, it had a very high handlebar and was close to the saddle, and with this saddle, which was made in one piece, perhaps it didn't favor sporty driving as much. Oh guys, if I have to be honest, I love the position of the old MT-09 because you know that I am now of a certain age, therefore comfortable motorcycles. High handlebars, somewhat cumbersome, back pain is experienced and felt after reaching a certain age. Younger ones like my colleague Lore, who is just 2 years younger than me, don't think he's much younger than me. Instead, he said, "Wow, I would prefer a position more like the Street Triple, more aggressive and sporty." In short, those at Yamaha listened to him and moved the handlebars, lowering them by more than 3 centimeters. They also brought them a little further forward and at the same time repositioned the footrests, raising them a bit higher and a bit further back. What does it result in then? A slightly sportier, more aggressive, more loaded front-end posture that may have influenced the driving qualities of this motorcycle. With regards to the engine, the most recent version of the Yamaha 3-cylinder, which had been increased to 890C, has been completely confirmed and validated. In fact, nothing came to mind that could be modified. No criticism had ever been made of that engine, with a high number of horses, specifically 119, and a great torque of 93 Nm at only 7,000 RPM, which is something you can feel and makes a significant difference. As a result, the 3-cylinder configuration has been fully and unequivocally confirmed. Similar speech pertaining to cycling, the frame remains identical to the previous version, while in Iwata they contemplated improving the suspensions to provide a slightly more supported and enhanced riding experience for cyclists. In fact, you will know that alongside the base MT-09 there is the SP version that features an Öhlins monoshock and more refined and sporty Showa suspensions. This is the base version, and somebody mentioned that it was a little soft for a motorcycle with sporty characteristics regardless. Well, what did Yamaha do? They have stiffened the suspensions both for the fork and for the mono to give it slightly more sporty characteristics. The last thing that has changed, but no less important, is the electronics. The electronics of the latest MT-09 were already quite complete, but here they wanted to go decidedly further. To begin, they installed a large TFT dashboard, the type I prefer, even with a 5-inch display, because in fact the previous one was a bit too small. And they have added so many of those features that hyper-technological enthusiasts like me really appreciate. So we even have the navigator, and then we also have very interesting things for those who love traveling or anyway staying for a long time on the highway. So there is even cruise control, which, well, on a motorcycle like this is not at all obvious. And then all those electronic aids that on a bike of this type are not super essential but are what really make the difference have been further developed here. I assure you that we have everything possible. Practically, we have an electronics that is not far from that of the R1. So in addition to the traction control, we have the anti-wheelie, which among other things is adjustable. And I already tell you that in the lowest setting, it allows you to even do wheelies, keeping them under control. That is, avoiding you from raising too much if you are not too skilled with one wheel. Then, we even have the management of the skid. We have the management of engine braking and deceleration to control rear grip losses, and in short, you have everything possible imaginable. And in addition to this, you also have 3 engine mappings that allow you to decide whether you want to give gas immediately with minimal rotation or take a little more time before the engine releases all its power, providing you with maximum control and flexibility in various driving situations. So riding mode road, riding mode street, and riding mode sport are available for utilization depending on your mood of the day. Well, we have more or less provided all the details regarding the news of the MT-09 2024, but how did this bike perform during the test conducted by our team? Today we covered approximately 220 kilometers on the roads of Lanzarote, which is a breathtaking and volcanic island located in the Canary Islands archipelago. I must mention that the roads were different from the usual ones we are accustomed to for the pre-tests. In reality, they consisted of long straight stretches with only a smaller portion comprising of curves. However, I can guarantee that we approached the curves with the appropriate techniques, and it was an enjoyable section of narrow mixed road that allowed us to truly evaluate the capabilities of the MT-09. Let's start by saying that most of the qualities that we have always appreciated about the previous generation MT-09 have remained. So the main thing about this bike that I absolutely adore is the engine. The engine is truly spectacular. In my opinion, one of the 3 most beautiful cylinders currently on the market. I don't want to exaggerate, but even if we talk about super media, I prefer it to the Triumph one. Oh my God, I said madness, better than the Street Triple RS. Well, yes, because this one has 10 horses less. In short, we are 119 against 130, but in this case, it is the torque that makes the difference. It is true that here we have a bigger engine, the displacement is 890cc, but well, there is someone who has forced the manufacturers to keep a particularly low displacement. In summary, the displacement advantage of the MT-09 enables it to possess an extremely impressive torque and smoothness of delivery for an engine that is essentially a super medium, resulting in excellent responsiveness from low revs, a highly satisfying mid-range, and ample top-end power for when maximum horsepower is desired and the rider wishes to accelerate rapidly and achieve exceptionally high speeds. When it comes to the engine, there is an interesting novelty that concerns the sound. This theme had already been developed on the previous MT-09, and you may be aware that Yamaha even has a division dedicated to music. Well, it appears that even for this new MT-09, Yamaha has engaged their music division to discover a system for enhancing the sound of this motorcycle. As you know by now, with Euro 4, Euro 5 in short, the exhaust sound is what it is. You can't do anything about it. If you want to keep a homologated exhaust, you have to settle for the vroom vroom, that's it, and you can't do much about it. So what did Yamaha's intelligent people do? They have simply found a way to improve the intake sound and above all to direct it, to channel it to the pilot's ears. But yes, this is a trick, isn't it? Oh yes, if homologation authorities measure motorcycle noise externally, what do Yamaha officials do? They shoot it directly into your ears while you drive. They use these kind of speakers that are on top of the tank to create a spectacular noise. The sound is then shot directly into the helmet, making you feel excited like pigs. It's an exhilarating experience when you give full throttle and decide to go really fast through the curves. Well, you will have understood that I like the engine and its noise a lot, but as for the driving, well, this has always been the area of the MT-09 on which some criticisms have been focused. Certain individuals have expressed the opinion that with this particular front end, with this specific position and high posture, it is not possible to establish a truly great connection with the front end, with the front wheel. In fact, if we compare it to the Street Triple RS, which is essentially a sport bike without fairings, the argument makes sense because that bike is much more focused on aggressive riding and therefore makes you feel the front end more. But I must be honest, considering the speed of driving this MT-09, you really have no valid reason to complain. It is imperative to attack the curves, to give gas without hesitation, and to uproot the knob with the right wrist in order to truly experience the limits of these stiffened suspensions. Surprisingly, I did not encounter significant issues even in the previous model, and the new riding position presents a similar situation worth mentioning. It's a little more aggressive, it's a little more sporty, but fortunately it's not uncomfortable and it hasn't compromised the driving pleasure and practicality of the MT-09. MT-09, which I really like for daily use. As I mentioned, it is an extremely comfortable motorcycle, highly responsive, very easy to ride in traffic, agile, allowing you to ride it without any specific concerns and without exerting any significant effort. Since 2 minutes after you turned it on, and well, I'm not saying that it's the right bike even for a beginner, for that maybe you would better opt for the MT-07, but honestly it is not a difficult bike to ride, especially if you decide to use one of the mappings, maybe a bit softer, in particular the Street 1 that has a smoother throttle response, allows you to have a certain margin of error even with the enthusiasm of your right wrist, and so you can rest assured that it will not put you in difficulty or pose any significant challenges. Last mention concerns electronics. As I said, in Yamaha they have done things in a big way. They have put everything impossible and imaginable, and although in sporty driving with a 120 HP engine it is not so essential to have a traction control, a slide control, or all those things there. In short, if you have a bit of familiarity with aggressive driving, you will know more or less how to manage the right wrist. The thing I like about this bike is that it allows you to customize the engine operation, the throttle response, the way you can give gas on slippery surfaces, the wheelie control, the engine braking, and one thing that I really liked, and you know that I have a weakness for these things, is that when you deactivate the wheelie control, which is called lift control here, I deactivated it once and it remains deactivated in all the mappings. When you start the bike, when you turn it off, when you go to the bar, when you go to pee, return and wheelie control stays off, so no interruptions occur.
You can change the mapping, you can also use the rain mapping and wheelie as much as you want, and no one will bother you. Understood? Yes, very fine.
Then guys, let's be clear, I am not telling you about these things because I did them. I turned off the anti-skid because I wanted to see, but it is not like I am doing these things now on straightaways. I have not done these things here. I wasn't just popping wheelies like crazy, I wasn't calm either.
No, I didn't do them.
Well, it remains to be seen when you can find this MT-09 2024 from dealers. Let's discuss April. So essentially, by the time you watch this video, you can already begin visiting the dealerships and inquire about the availability. The price is 10,199 euros, which might appear slightly high for a non-SP Super Mid, but I assure you that considering the amount of content this bike possesses, it is definitely worth the expense, as it encompasses all the necessary electronics, peculiar features, engine, and you cannot request anything better or more comprehensive, I guarantee it without a doubt. In conclusion, with the introduction of the MT-09, Yamaha has successfully managed to further improve and refine all the facets of a motorcycle that, in my humble opinion, was already fantastic and impressive beyond measure. If you enjoy the genre, if you appreciate the design, if you have a fondness for doing wheelies with the MT-09, you can go absolutely safely. Well, you are familiar with the sound of the motorcycle, and I enjoy allowing you to experience it firsthand. So let's proceed by turning it on and performing a few delightful revs to provide you with the opportunity to hear the sound emanating directly from the airbox. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up down below. If you really enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the Superbike Italia channel and perhaps also click on the notification bell to stay updated whenever we release a new video. Your support means a lot to us. Well, comrades of Superbike Italy, now I'm going to enjoy a refreshing beer because I am extremely elated to have successfully retained my extraordinary license.
I will keep it for other Yamaha MT-09. We'll see what happens.
Hi, Superbike Italy pals. Hi.